Picture this. It is a scorching hot day. You're sweating, you're thirsty, and all you can think about is that ice-cold bottle of water just waiting for you in the fridge. We've all been there, right? You grab it, you take a huge gulp, and you feel that amazing, instant relief. But what if I told you that feeling is a little bit of a trick? I mean, what if, scientifically speaking, that super cold drink isn't really cooling your body down the way you think it is? What if, in some cases, it has no cooling effect at all? Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, but that is the surprising question we're going to dig into by looking at the science. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll tackle all those popular myths you've probably seen online. Then we'll uncover your body's hidden temperature controls and see how that creates a weird paradox during exercise. After that, we'll check the effects on your heart, find the absolute perfect temperature for hydration, and finally, wrap everything up in a super simple guide. All right, let's start with what you've likely seen scrolling through your social media feed or on some wellness blogs. 'Cause let's be honest, there are a lot of claims out there about the supposed dangers of drinking cold water. You've probably heard some of these, right? That cold water shocks your system, that your body wastes precious energy just heating it up, or my favorite, that it slows your metabolism rate down. You know, these ideas have been around for a long time, and they sound kind of plausible, but they don't really tell the whole story. To get to the real truth, we need to look at this absolutely remarkable feature that our bodies have. It's like a secret thermostat that works faster than you can even imagine. So let me introduce you to your visceral thermoreceptors. It's a fancy name, but just think of them as a network of super sensitive temperature sensors all around your stomach. The second you swallow something, they detect its temperature and fire off an instant message straight to your brain. This all happens long before that liquid has any chance to actually change your body's core temperature. It's an internal early warning system. And check this out. This slide shows that early warning system in action. Look at the top graph. Almost immediately after someone drinks cold fluid, their sweat rate just plummets. But now look at the bottom graph. The body's core temperature? It hasn't changed. Not one bit. Your body isn't reacting to being cooler. It's reacting to the sensation of cold, and it's turning down the sweat before it even needs to. So what does this mean when you're exercising and sweating is basically your #1 tool for cooling down? Well, this is where things get really interesting, and we run into a fascinating paradox. Think of your body as constantly performing this delicate balancing act. When you drink something cold, you get what's called internal heat loss. That's the direct cooling effect from the liquid itself. But like we just saw, those thermoreceptors in your gut immediately tell your brain, hey, turn down the sweat. And that leads to a reduction in evaporative heat loss from your skin. So you see what's happening? One cooling mechanism often gets canceled out by the other. And here's the kicker. For a lot of common exercise situations, like you're out for a run or a bike ride on a warm, dry day, that reduction in sweat-based cooling completely cancels out the cooling from the drink itself. Your brain basically says, oh, cold stuff is coming in? Cool, I can turn down the sprinklers on the skin. And the net result? You're not actually any cooler. So this kind of begs the question, right? Is there any situation where drinking something cold during a workout actually gives you a real cooling advantage? Yes, there is. And this chart shows us exactly when. In hot and really humid environments, your sweat isn't evaporating off your skin very well anyway. It's mostly just dripping off, which doesn't cool you much. In those conditions, where your natural cooling system is already struggling, the direct internal cooling from a cold drink provides a clear, undeniable net benefit. The trade-off finally tips in favor of that cold drink. Okay, so that covers exercise. But what about all those myths we talked about at the beginning? You know, the ones about cold water slowing your metabolism or shocking your system when you're just relaxing? Let's go ahead and bust those right now. So, far from slowing your metabolism down, studies actually show that drinking cold water can temporarily increase your resting energy expenditure. In one study, it went up by about 2.9%. And why is that? Well, it's pretty simple. Your body uses a tiny bit of energy to warm that water up to body temperature. So the claim is totally backwards. Now, the effect is pretty small. We're only talking a few extra calories, but it's still a metabolic increase, not a decrease. So, myth officially busted. And what about that idea of shocking your system? Turns out the opposite is true. This study showed that drinking both cold and room temperature water actually decreased the heart's workload. It seems to trigger a calming response in your nervous system. So instead of a shock, it's more like gently tapping the brakes. So if ice cold isn't always the best for cooling and temperature doesn't wreck your metabolism, what is the best temperature for the most important thing of all? Just getting you to drink enough water to stay hydrated in the first place. Okay, this is fascinating. When dehydrated athletes were allowed to drink as much water as they wanted at different temperatures, which one do you think they drank the most of? It wasn't the ice-cold 5-degree water. Nope. The clear winner was the 16 degrees Celsius water, basically what you'd call cool tap water. This temperature, around 16 Celsius or 60 Fahrenheit, seems to be the Goldilocks zone for hydration. It's cool enough to be really refreshing and satisfy that desire to cool down, but it's not so cold that it's hard to drink a lot of it quickly. It's the perfect balance between what we need for temperature and what we need for fluid. All right, we've covered a ton of ground, from sensors in your gut to metabolism myths to the perfect temperature for just drinking more. Let's put all of this together into a simple, practical guide you can actually use. Here's your cheat sheet. Before exercise? Yeah, go for it. A cold drink is effective because it can pre-cool your core temperature before you really start sweating. During exercise, it depends on the weather. It's most effective in humid conditions. And after exercise, absolutely. As your sweat rate naturally drops, the direct cooling from a cold drink is a great way to help bring your temperature back down. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. The temperature of what you drink has this incredibly complex and fascinating effect on your body. Just not in the ways all those myths would have you believe. It's just a brilliant example of our body's silent, intelligent systems working in the background all the time. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible things are our bodies doing every single second, completely without us even knowing?